Hello everyone. Today we're going to start our unit of ratios and proportional relationships. And if you look at this screen, this is our Schoology screen. And if you have internet at home, this is where you should access all of the videos in Unit 1 and anything that I assign after a video in Unit 1. So you'll see a red folder here. It says Unit 1 Ratios and Proportional Relationships. That you'll click on and you'll see all of the videos posted for the entire unit right here. And any kind of flip grids or assignments that I post after a video will also be housed right here in this folder. So that's where you should access everything for this unit. This unit will probably take us into November, so we are going to be working in this unit for quite some time. And this is where we will be accessing everything. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our lesson for today. But before we do that, I want to make sure that you have a pencil, because pencils are the only thing that you should be using to write on your lesson with, because it's math and it's good to erase if we make a mistake. I am going to be using a green pen only because with this video it shows up better. So that's the only reason why I'm using a pen. Otherwise, I would be using pencil. This is a Eureka Math Tips for Parents. At the beginning of each unit, I will be sending this home to your parents just to kind of give them an idea of what we are doing in math for the unit. So this goes through a lot of keywords. It goes through the models we're going to be learning. This is a double number line. This is a ratio table. If you look on the back, you're going to see a tape diagrams. And maybe you worked a little with these in the past couple years, hopefully. And you'll see some important information about the modules in the Common Core. And that's about it. So this is just something that is good for parents to see what's going on in our classroom. Now I'm going to take away that and I'm going to go to our lesson for today. So at the top, I'm just going to write today's date, which is the 20th. Well, it's the 19th actually. I'm so sorry. That's when you're watching it. Okay, so 9/19/17 is our date. This is Common Core Standard 6 RP1, which is Introduction to Ratios. You need to know how to use a ratio, how to write a ratio, how to understand ratios, what a ratio is. So we're going to put this back on our CCLS board in our classroom so that we can show that we've covered this standard. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to identify and define the term ratio, verbally describe a ratio using terms like part to part and part to whole with your classmates. So that's something by the end of the lesson you should be able to do. I'm going to flip the page to the back and we're going to start the first activity, which is a class activity, but unfortunately we're not in class. So what we're going to do is we're going to imagine that we are in a class with 10 boys and 8 girls, which gives us a total number of 18 students. Now, if you recall, on the front page, I said that you're going to need to know how to describe part-to-part ratios and part-to-whole ratios. Well, this is 10 boys is our part of our classroom, and 8 boys would be a part of a classroom, and the 18 would consist of our whole classroom. So we're going to come back to this at the end of our video today, but right now, just keep that in mind. Okay. Now I want you to pick up your pencil. You're going to write down anything that I write down in this video. So what is a ratio? A ratio is a comparison between two different things. Okay? A ratio can be written as a fraction with a colon. If you're not sure what a colon is, it looks like this, the 2 dots up and down, and using the term 2. So you can write the ratio 3 ways. As a fraction like a over b, with a colon like a to b, and by the way, you read the colon as 2, or in words like a to b. So all of those are sufficient. Any which way is fine. As with fractions, you can simplify ratios. For example, if the ratio was 9:3 or 9:3, you could simplify it to 3:1. Because you can divide 9 by 3 and you can divide 3 by 3 to give you 3:1. Okay? A ratio should not and should never be written as a mixed number, because you can't compare when a ratio is comparing two different things. When you're writing a mixed number, you see you have 1 1/2. There's no way really to compare that. So we have to write it as 3:2. I also want to write down here that order matters. And it's so important that you write that down as well. When you are dealing with ratios, order matters. The way that something is written is the way that your ratio has to be written. Okay, so you're going to see that in just a minute when we get to the examples. All right, so what are some things we can compare? So some things we can compare in real life. I want you to be thinking of some things that we can compare. I'm going to give you an example. I know that I could compare oranges and apples. I want you to think of something that you can compare, two things, and write them down here. So pause the video and go ahead and do that. All right, I don't know what you wrote, but I know that you can also compare blue jeans and black jeans. Two different things, okay? And there's other things you can compare. You can compare boys and girls. Okay, so all different things we can compare, and these we can do that with ratios. So we're going to go ahead and start learning about what a part-to-part and a part-to-whole comparison is. Part-to-part is comparing one specific thing to something that may not always be related. For example, blue jeans to black pants or apples to oranges. These are part-to-part comparisons. So I'm going to just write part to part. I'm doing P to P, which is part-to-part. I'm comparing the apples to the oranges. A part-to-whole comparison is different because you're comparing one specific thing to a topic that is related. So for example, I'm comparing black pants to the total number of pants. These pants are related to one another because the black pants are also in the total number of pants. So if I'm comparing, if I have 5 black pants and a total of 10 pants together, that would be a total, a part-to-whole comparison of 5 to 10. Because if I have 5 black and 10 total, that's a comparison of 5 to 10. Okay, apples to fruit. So maybe you have 3 apples, and maybe you have 7 pieces of fruit. So you need to make sure that you compare the apples to all of the fruit that you have together. So if you're this 5 is maybe part of this 10 for your pants. So your apples would, let's say we have 3 apples and we have 7 fruits, and that consists of the apples. That would be 3 to, whoops, I think it's 3 to 10. I'm sorry, I think I messed up back here. It should be 5 to 15 because we have to add those into that. That's how we get the total. Okay, so now when we start this, we're going to go ahead and we're going to be identifying the ratio 3 different ways, and then we're going to be identifying whether the ratios are part-to-part or part-to-whole comparisons. So we're going to start off here back to our comparing boys to girls. So in the beginning slide, we said that there were 10 boys and 8 girls, and we had 18 total students. So I'm just going to write that down here. 10 boys, 8 girls. Total 18. Now, comparing boys to girls. So the ratio of boys to girls. Now you have to make sure that whatever comes first. That's your number that comes first. So the number of boys has to come first because that's what's first in our sentence or our phrase. So 10 boys. So we would write 10 to 8. You could write that 3 ways. 10 over 8. Or you could write it as 10 to 8. And because we're comparing the boys to the girls, that's a part-to-part comparison. Okay, now we're going to compare the boys to the whole class. Now, since we have 10 boys, we're going to do 10 to the whole class. We know is all of them combined, which would be 18. So we can write that 3 ways. And we can also say that that is not a part-to-part comparison. Now it's a part-to-whole comparison because it was the whole class. And now our last one was comparing girls to the whole class. So if we look here, we have 8 girls, so we'll start with that. To the whole class would be 18. Again, we have to use that 18, and we're writing it 3 ways. And that, again, is a part-to-whole comparison because we have girls to the whole class. Okay? So that's just an example to get us started into our next several slides, which are just examples. Now, if you notice here, this says to compare stars to moons. Now, if you look on this page, you see there are stars and there are moons. Because stars is first, you have to start with the number of stars. So your ratio has to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 stars to 1, 2, 3, 4 moons. So my ratio of stars to moons is 5 to 4. Order matters. You cannot say that it's 4 to 5. That would be moons to stars. So you have to be cautious and always make sure that whatever it says here, you follow that order for your ratio here. Now I want you to write that 3 ways. So you're going to write it 3 ways, and then you're going to tell me what kind of comparison it is. So is it a part to part, or is it a part to whole? Did we compare the stars to all of the things in the sky, or did we compare the stars to just the moons? So it's part to part because we did stars to moon, which are part of the universe. All right, so that's one example. I want you to take a look at the next one. This is apples to pieces of fruit. So if you look here, we have 2 apples, a banana, a strawberry. This might be a peach, and these are grapes. So apples comes first. That means we count the number of apples. So that is 2. And then pieces of fruit means all of the pieces of fruit. Does that mean we count apples too? It does, because an apple is a piece of fruit. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces of fruit, and that's what goes here. We write that 3 ways. And now we say what kind of relationship this is. And because it's apples to all of the fruit, it is part to whole relationship. Okay? All right, so I hope you're understanding what we're doing so far. We have a few more examples to do, so I'm going to have you do this one on your own. Now, I want to be sure you understand which is a puppy and which is a kitten. So if you look here, it says puppies to kittens. Order matters. This is a puppy, this is a puppy, this is a kitten, and this is a puppy. So I want you to go ahead and do exactly what we've done on the last 2 slides. I want you to write the ratio of puppies to kittens 3 different ways. And I want you to tell me whether it's a part to whole or a part to part relationship. So pause the video and go ahead and do that now. Check in with me when you're done. Okay, so you should have done puppies to kittens. So there are 3 puppies to 1 kitten. And you should have wrote that 3 ways. And then you should have said that this is a part to part comparison because we're comparing 2 different things. A puppy is different than a kitten. Okay, so that's that. Now I want you to go to the last page and look at the yellow cars to the total number of vehicles. Now, you're probably wondering, well, which are yellow and which are red? I'm going to just put that above each one of these. So this is yellow, yellow, yellow. This one is yellow, 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 and that's yellow. So those ones are yellow, and then these are all red. So we're going to go ahead and write the ratio of yellow cars to the total number of vehicles. So I want you to pause the video and write that ratio 3 ways, and then write your whether this is a part-to-part comparison or a part-to-whole comparison. So pause the video and go ahead and do that now. Okay, so you should have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 yellow vehicles to the total number of vehicles. So that means 7 plus whatever's left over, which is 4, that's 11. So you should have 7 to 11. Then you should have wrote it 3 ways. And you should have lastly told me whether it was a part-to-part or part-to-whole comparison, which in this case, it is a part-to-whole because you are comparing the yellow to all of the vehicles. So I hope you understand that part of it. Okay, so today your goal was to be able to write a ratio, understand ratios, be able to tell me what a ratio is, and be able to tell me whether it's part to part or part to whole. So after today, I hope that you're able to do that, because tomorrow when we come into class, we're going to do this class activity and we're going to do some stations to practice what you learned tonight. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video on ratios. Bye-bye.